Hello and welcome to today's roundtable on sustainability and green chemistry in cosmetics. Cosmetics Business is very proud to welcome two speakers from AAK, Elena Genesca Pont, Global Commercial Product Manager, and Jakob Nybroe, Head of Sustainability West Africa. They will be joined by Tony Abboud, Chief Commercial Officer at Core Biogenesis, along with Willian Calderon, Global Product Manager, Microprotection at Symrise, and will all be offering an insight into sustainable innovations for 2025. Just a quick note to say that Tony will be presenting during the webinar, and President and CEO of Core Biogenesis, Alexandre Reeber, will be joining the Q&A. Please use the chat function to ask any questions you may have, which will all be answered at the end. Now, over to today's speakers.
Good afternoon to all, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Elena Genesca Pont, and I'm a Global Commercial Product Manager in AAK Personal Care. Today, me and my colleague Jakob, Sustainability Manager, will talk to you about holistic sustainability as a basis for product development, LipXLXTR. I wanted to start by putting a few words on AAK Personal Care. Who are we and what do we do? AAK is a world-leading producer of value-adding plant-based oils. Within personal care, AAK pioneered the functional use of shea in cosmetics. Our strength comes from our expertise and focus in two key areas. On the one hand, our lipid expertise that allows us to develop high-performance plant-based derivatives such as emollient, bioactive emollient, or emollient esters, and on the other hand, our expertise in sustainability, where we focus on developing sustainable and resilient supply chains with a focus on planet, people, and biodiversity. We've called this presentation Holistic Sustainability as a Basis for Product Development, LipXLXTR. But what do we mean by that? We will use LipXLXTR as an example of our approach to develop a personal care ingredient with sustainability as the starting point. First, as part of the work we do on building resilient supply chains, we've looked at the key risks and potential mitigation actions of the shea supply chain. At the same time, we've identified an ingredient category, dimethicones, that is under scrutiny due to several environmental concerns, and where we see that there is therefore a need for an alternative. We've then used our lipid expertise and understanding of shea as a raw material to develop an alternative to low viscosity dimethicone that addresses key sustainability concerns while maximizing the positive impact that it has on the shea supply chain. Now my colleague Jakob will tell you more about shea.
The shea trees, they grow in an area that stretch across West Africa from Senegal to Uganda, and it's probably known as the shea belt. The trees grow in an agroforestry system. There are no plantations, there are no fertilizers or pesticides being applied directly to the trees. It's a very slow-growing tree. It takes 15 years or more before it starts to produce fruits, and it can take 30 or even 40 years before it reaches its full capacity. The fruits are collected exclusively by the women, and shea is therefore an important extra source of income for millions of women across the region. Once collected by the women, they boil or steam them to stop the germination process. They dry and shell them, and ultimately they sell the dry kernel as it is, or they use it to produce shea butter locally. At AAK, we operate two parallel shea supply chains. So there's a traditional supply chain where we source from middlemen that provide the logistical services and basically aggregate the volumes they sell to us. And then we have our direct sourcing program called Colina Faso, where we source directly from women collectors. And it's important to note that it is a direct sourcing. There are no middlemen, there are no agents. It's only AAK staff, where our field officers or extension officers are the one building and maintaining the relations with the women, provide the training, and basically execute the mitigation effort that helps us manage the supply chain risks. Through this supply chain, we can train women collectors on parkland management or energy-efficient cook stoves, etc., as well as provide them with access to pre-financing and, most importantly, a guaranteed outlet for their shea kernels. Today, we have just around 250,000 women enrolled in the program. So the scale alone with 250,000 women makes this quite unique, and it enables that direct access that is so crucial when you want to drive impact directly on the ground. On the risk side, there's no doubt that loss of trees and biodiversity in general is something that needs addressing by all industry players. The local processing is the first of the CO2 hotspots, and we also face the fact that low income and lack of access to finance, general health and safety for the women are areas to address. Transport in the region is more often than not inefficient and not particularly climate friendly. And finally, there is a high energy need when it comes to the industrial processing. Mitigating that is all about a holistic approach to the landscape, planting trees, protecting the ones that are there, securing biodiversity. It's about providing the women with a fair and transparent market access, training and helping them to improve livelihood conditions, such as introducing sustainable energy-efficient cook stoves, which lowers the need for firewood, reduce CO2, and reduce the risk for the women. By having that transparent direct trade, we can optimize logistic routes, reduce the kilometers driven, reduce the CO2 footprint. And at our own plant, we can utilize the shear meal in our own bioboilers, which also has a dramatic effect on our CO2 emissions.
We've heard about shea, its impact, risks, and mitigation actions. We move now into dimethicones, the ingredient target for replacement. Dimethicones are a group of silicones that are frequently used in personal care. They are known for their silky emolliency and with a sensory that is linked to their molecular weight. They've been under increasing scrutiny due to their lack of biodegradability and the fact that they are energy intense to produce. On the other hand, low viscosity dimethicones specifically are known and appreciated for their light, dry, silky sensory, as well as their functionality in skin and in hair care. When looking at designing an alternative, the key success criteria will be: first, that the proposed alternative has a comparable performance in key performance attributes. Second, that it tackles the key sustainability concerns associated with dimethicones. And third, we've also said we wanted to maximize the positive impact on the shea supply chain. First of all, we look into comparable performance on key performance attributes. We know sensory of low viscosity dimethicones is highly appreciated, so we validated with a trained panel that Lipex Shell XDR is able to deliver a similar light, dry, non-greasy sensory with no significant differences. From a functionality perspective, in hair care, low viscosity dimethicones are often used in leave-on products to deliver shine, anti-frizz, and ease of combing. In skincare, we know they are known for their anti-soaping, anti-whitening effect, and they are able to support moisturization. We've validated Lipex Shell XDR is able to deliver to the same or a superior degree as a low viscosity dimethicone in all the above mentioned, with the exception of anti-soaping, where Lipex Shell XDR is able to provide a visible benefit, but not to the same degree as dimethicones. We move now into tackling the key sustainability concerns, which we've mentioned are the fact that dimethicones are not biodegradable, they are energy intensive to produce, and they rely often on non-renewable carbon. Lipex Shell XDR is readily biodegradable. It is derived from 100% natural and renewable sources and is produced in an eco-friendly process that involves mild temperatures and pressures and the use of non-toxic catalysts. In addition, it is produced using shea traceable to AAK Colonna Faso program, and it's climate compensated. But why does this matter? Why does this matter? By it being traceable, we can provide transparency to consumers on the impact of their purchases. And we can support our customers measure the impact of their products and act on it. In addition, as Jakob has mentioned, through Colonna Faso, we can implement the mitigation actions that we've identified in the shea supply chain. For it to be climate compensated, we've estimated the product carbon footprint of Lipex Shell XDR, and we've offset it with carbon credits from a project adjacent to the shea supply chain. In this project, women shea collectors have been trained in the fabrication and usage of energy-efficient cook stoves that they use for the daily cooking. Supporting this project, we support the reduction of carbon emissions and bring value to the communities. So overall, combining our knowledge of the shea supply chain, risks, and potential mitigations, the identification of an ingredient that is under scrutiny due to environmental concerns, and our lipid expertise, we are able to develop an alternative that not only tackles key environmental concerns without significant performance losses, but it maximizes the impact on the shea supply chain. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening to us. Visit our website for more info and see you later in the Q&A. Bye.
Hi, my name is Tony Abboud, Chief Commercial Officer at Core Biogenesis. Today we're going to talk about using plant biotechnology to deliver more sustainable, next-gen protein-based active ingredients. For the next 10 minutes, we're going to cover these 4 topics. First of all, we're going to compare natural to sustainable and show that they're not always the same. We're going to talk about the rise of protein-based active ingredients as the next generation of active materials. We're then going to compare and contrast fermentation to plants as biofactories to produce proteins and peptides of interest. And lastly, we're going to go and do a virtual visit of Core Biogenesis facility in France. But let's begin with the rose and explain why natural doesn't necessarily mean sustainable. Rose essential oil is one of the most prized ingredients in beauty. But did you know it takes 242,000 rose petals to produce just 5 mils of oil? That's fields of roses harvested and distilled for just a few drops. This process isn't just expensive, it's land intensive, water consuming, and far from eco-friendly. But we believe that biotechnology changes the game. Instead of over-harvesting nature, we can now create bioidentical materials in a sustainable and efficient manner using science, and without depleting our natural resources. But let's explore how biotechnology is being used in personal care by first starting and looking at the evolution of active ingredients. First, we began using small molecules for active materials, like retinol and vitamins and niacinamide. These are small in size and penetrate freely through the stratum corneum. They are typically foreign to the body and elicit an effect. We are now in the peptide revolution. These are amino acid-based active ingredients that are typically 3, 4, 5 amino acids. They have no 3D structure, penetrate freely as well through the stratum corneum, and elicit an effect. We believe that the next generation is polypeptides or proteins. Compared to the other 2 classes, these are naturally produced by the body. They have 3-dimensional structures and also have known receptors and efficacy in the body. These are materials like albumin, collagen, elastin, superoxide dismutase, and a very exciting class called growth factors. These are proteins that are involved in longevity and anti-aging. Let's explore this with our CEO, Alexandre Reeber, in a short video.
Your skin tells a story of resilience and regeneration, written in every glow and every texture. But over time, that story changes. Growth factors, the vital molecules that keep your skin firm, smooth, and radiant, start to fade and decrease. At Core Biogenesis, we are here to rewrite that story. With our sustainable plant biofactories, we cultivate biomimetic growth factors that can reawaken your skin's true potential. By combining nature with biotechnology, we have the power to restore what time takes away. Your skin's best story is still waiting to be told. So let's start writing it.
So let's now talk about how biotechnology can produce bioidentical proteins like growth factors for skincare. The most common method to produce recombinant proteins is fermentation, which is using microorganisms like yeast or bacteria inside bioreactors to produce a protein of interest. These facilities are energy intensive and require massive capital investment, especially at scale. Downstream purification is required and involves many solvent and chemical steps. Life cycle analysis shows that this process releases hundreds of thousands of kilograms of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere per kilo of recombinant protein being made. Core Biogenesis has pioneered a brand new way to produce recombinant proteins using whole plants instead of microorganisms. This process is infinitely scalable, can be grown in greenhouses or open fields, and volume is only dependent on the amount of seeds you plant. Purification uses Mother Nature's machinery in a simple and natural, solvent-free way. The best part, this approach is completely carbon neutral. Let's now explore this more with Alex doing a short video on how he compares fermentation to using plants.
Forget machines, bioreactors, and chemical synthesis. Our factory is alive and vibrant. It is our plants. These remarkable biofactories harness the power of nature. Through a sustainable and elegant process, they transform simple, natural resources into precious biomolecules. Think about it. Every single cell, every single seed is part of a natural system, working harmoniously to create what we need. Instead of extracting resources, we cultivate them. The future isn't made in a factory. It is grown with nature.
So although proteins and peptides are exciting in skincare, there are a few barriers that I wanted to talk about here for a couple of minutes. Many proteins are inherently unstable, and they break down and lose their three-dimensional structure in formulation, especially under accelerated heating conditions in the oven. Second of all, proteins are large in molecular weight and typically have difficulties going through the stratum corneum and getting into the epidermis and dermis to actually elucidate an effect. So this is where core biogenesis comes in. Not only can we make biomimetic proteins in plants, we can also work with Mother Nature's evolved structures to improve them. We can go into something called an oleosome. Oleosomes are found in every plant seed and preserve and protect seed oils for the germination process. Core biogenesis technology has the ability to fuse any protein or peptide of interest to the surface of the oleosome. And we have shown that we can dramatically increase stability by 10 times and also help the protein penetrate deeper into the skin, all the way into the dermis, to elucidate an effect. We have focused initially our efforts on producing biomimetic growth factors like epidermal growth factor and fibroblast growth factor 2 using our system. We have recently completed a clinical study using our two active ingredients, Pophoria and Povita, and have demonstrated remarkably that we can address the 4 primary signs of aging in only 14 days. Look at these dramatic before and afters as found in our study. Just so you know, we're not just about fancy stock footage and videos. I wanted to share you a short clip of one of our actual greenhouses in Strasbourg, France, where we grow Camelina sativa, which expresses biomimetic FGF2 and EGF in the seeds that are then purified downstream according to CGMP and ISO standards, yielding active ingredients used by personal care and beauty companies worldwide. So we believe the future is bright, using biotechnology approaches to deliver the next generation of active ingredients for skincare, while harnessing Mother Nature and developing them all in carbon neutral production systems. We're working on building what's next for consumers, making them feel more comfortable in their skin again. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to working with you soon.
Hi everyone, I am Willian Calderon, Global Product Manager in Microprotection at Symrise, and today I'm honored to be here to present Close in the Loop, our sustainability approach tailored for Hydrolite 5 Green in microprotection, a multifunctional ingredient also known by its zinc name pentylene glycol. Let's take a closer look at why Hydrolite 5 Green is the chosen one for this webinar. Today, I'll walk you through 1. Key consumer trends driving this transformation. 2. Symrise's pioneering mindset in leading sustainable change. 3. Hydrolite 5 Green, our breakthrough ingredient designed for a circular economy. And last but not least, 4. Our sustainability achievements and future goals for a greener future. sustainability requires long-term commitment, but its impact is strongest when it aligns with consumer expectations. While values drive innovation, market demand determines how widely it is embraced. To understand this balance, let's take a look at the key trends shaping the industry. Consumers today are not just interested in sustainability, they demand it, and they are willing to buy from brands that align with their values. Here are some compelling statistics. 61% of British consumers understand what carbon emissions are, and 38% of them know the meaning of biodegradable formulas. From the other side of the globe, 65% of Brazilians think it's worth paying more for clean products or brands than a standard one. In Asia, 62% of Chinese consumers have already purchased and will continue purchasing eco-design beauty products. In North America, 52% of Americans now buy exclusively clean beauty products. These numbers show a clear shift in buying behavior. Consumers are now prioritizing brands that are transparent, sustainable, and ethical. At Symrise, we see what I've just mentioned as an opportunity to lead the industry in sustainable innovation. Let's check it out. We all know that the demand for sustainable cosmetics is clear, and meeting this challenge requires significant action from the industry. Rather than waiting for regulations to set the pace, the focus should be on proactive solutions that drive real progress. Symrise has been developing multifunctional ingredients for decades. In 1992, we introduced pentylene glycol, a multifunctional ingredient that became widely used in beauty and personal care. By 2018, we had fully optimized its production process, incorporating circular economy principles to reduce waste and improve efficiency. Building on this foundation, we developed Hydrolite 5 Green, a next-generation ingredient designed to combine performance, versatility, and sustainability. Now, let's explore what makes it a key innovation in sustainable microprotection, what pentylene glycol is, and, of course, the role it plays in formulations. So, what is pentylene glycol in a nutshell? Pentylene glycol is a diol, meaning it has two hydroxyl groups, and it is commonly used in cosmetics for its humectant, antimicrobial, stabilizing, and solubilizing properties. Beyond being a versatile tool for formulators, it also provides direct benefits to consumers. Thanks to its high purity and multifunctionality, pentylene glycol enhances moisture retention, hair elasticity, hair combability, and skin feel, contributing to an improved sensory experience and overall product performance. And what makes Hydrolite 5 Green so innovative? First and foremost, it is 100% safe for use at concentrations of up to 10%, with no associated risks of irritation or sensitization. It is renewable and readily biodegradable. This means that the ingredients are sourced from renewable resources, which can be replenished naturally over time. Additionally, they are readily biodegradable, breaking down quickly and safely in the environment without causing harm. Hydrolite 5 Green also features a Natural Origin Index, NOI. For those who may not be familiar, the NOI is a system designed to measure and quantify the naturalness of ingredients used in cosmetic products, providing clear insight into its sustainability and natural composition. Finally, it is derived from 3 upcycled sources, making it a truly upcycled product, a characteristic we will explore in more detail shortly. Our pentylene glycol is derived from furfuryl alcohol. At Symrise, we source our furfuryl alcohol from sugarcane bagasse, wood pulp, and corn cobs, all byproducts that would otherwise go to waste. By utilizing waste from primary production processes, we optimize resource efficiency, contributing to a more sustainable production model. Thanks to our Proterra, PSC, and PEFC certifications, we ensure that our supplier partners uphold ethical labor practices, non-GMO sourcing, environmental responsibility, sustainable resource management, full traceability, social accountability, and forest conservation. To give an example, recently Symrise partnered with our corn cob supplier to support their Porterra certification, ensuring that furfuryl alcohol production not only reduces waste, but also enhances farmer incomes. But we didn't stop there. Our production process is guided by the 12 key principles of green chemistry, ensuring that every step aligns with the highest environmental standards. At the same time, we've designed our operations to maximize efficiency, save energy, and reduce waste. When it comes to our production facilities, we've taken every step to minimize carbon emissions compared to a traditional plant model for this material. We've also optimized our heating system to cut energy consumption, harness natural light to reduce electricity use, and even implemented on-site hydrogen production to lower transportation emissions. When it comes to carbon footprint, Hydrolite 5 Green has an emission of 2.11 kilograms of CO2 per kilogram of product, which falls within the low emission range based on industry benchmarks. In terms of waste generation, the production process is considerably efficient, with a low E factor of 0.122. For those that are not familiar with this term, the E factor, environmental factor, measures the amount of waste generated per unit of product. The lower the value, the more sustainable the process. And to further minimize our impact, we have implemented a recirculating heating system that utilizes process by products to generate heat from energy-intensive steps, significantly reducing both water and energy consumption. We also ensure that 3 of our side streams are repurposed within the cosmetics and chemical industries, preventing waste and maximizing resource efficiency. So, to sum up, here are some key figures highlighting our plant's achievements, followed by a quick look at our sustainability goals. At our USA plant, we've achieved significant milestones. 60% reduction in energy consumption by switching to efficient LED lighting, 202 tons of CO2 savings per year through effective steam mitigation, elimination of HVAC needs, reducing unnecessary energy use. HVAC means heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, which typically consume large amounts of energy. And last, no transportation emissions from hydrogen, as on-site production eliminates the need for delivery. But our journey doesn't stop here. Looking ahead, we are committed to even greater sustainability efforts. 2025, this year, we will open a European production facility, reducing transportation emissions and contributing to Scope 3 greenhouse gas reductions, which include indirect emissions from our supply chain and product distribution. By 2030, we aim to transition to a fully sustainable multifunctional portfolio, further optimize Hydrolite 5 Green's environmental footprint, improve sustainable packaging, and expand our use of low-impact feedstocks. With a focus on continuous innovation, we are advancing sustainability in microprotection and driving meaningful change in the cosmetics industry. We believe these efforts will contribute to a more sustainable future for both the planet and people. Well, thank you for your time, and I am happy to take any questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. That was a really fascinating and really informative presentation on what I consider to be a very important subject for the beauty industry. We've had some questions in from the audience, which I'm very keen to get your thoughts on. So in no particular order, my first question here is, what are some of the biggest barriers to incorporating sustainable ingredients into cosmetics?
Maybe I can take this one, Alexandre.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, by the way. So really on my side right now, I see 2 main barriers to brands that are looking to incorporate sustainability into cosmetics. I would say the first one is sourcing availability. And with that comes supply chain security. As you know, most sustainable actives are new ingredients, and they have basically not been around for a very, I would say, very long time. And with that often comes a manufacturing process which is not very scalable. So this results in basically a very fragile supply chain. And as we all know, any brands working with a new active will want to ensure that it can easily be sourced. And most importantly, that it has a scalable manufacturing process, which will then ensure, easy and reliable supply for the brand. So that's the first one. And then the second one to me is really efficacy. So one of the big reasons we launched our actives at Biogenesis is because we couldn't find on the market a single active that is both the best in its class in terms of sustainability and efficacy. So you basically always had a trade-off to make between one or the other. And so, these are really the two main barriers that I see right now to incorporating sustainable ingredients into cosmetics.
Interesting. And I guess on that sort of, in terms of green chemistry, maybe one for you, Elena, and Jakob, potentially. Is green chemistry more desirable than less energy consumptive technologies?
If I can take this one, I mean, I wouldn't talk about green chemistry exclusively, but what we are seeing, and I think that's the direction that the industry is taking, is very much that when really looking at sustainable solutions, there's not going to be like a one fits all. No, so really looking at each ingredient and its functionality. We'll need to really look at it from a holistical perspective and really think, okay, what is it that makes sense in this case? So it's really going to be very much a balance. The same way that it's not always unmodified natural that is the best or organic that is the best. I do think that it's going to be really much about looking at every case, looking at what are all the different impacts and really looking at, okay, what does make sense in this case? And I do think, green chemistry is going to play a big role in this. Yes.
Definitely. And I have another question here for eco-design cosmetics. And the question is, with the increasing demand for eco-design cosmetics, how do you see the future of sustainable product protection evolving?
Yeah, so I can take this one. For me, yes, we all know that sustainability is no longer optional. It's an essential expectation. So consumers worldwide are seeking cleaner, safer, and more eco-design products. For that reason, at least from Symrise side, we started the greenification of our portfolio a couple of years ago to reinforce even more our commitment to sustainable practice. So in 2018, Hydro 5 Green, as I mentioned, was launched coming from renewable sources. In 2019, the following year, we also had another launch, Sunlight G8, another product protection material. And then we have several other ones for the following years until 2022, where we launched the whole range of dials from seed dials 5, 6, 7, and 8. All product protection materials which have multiple functionalities, and those materials they all have different specificities in assets in formulation. But another point that is quite interesting to mention is that it's also important to be ambassador of transparency in this context to guarantee that we can work and rely on recognized certification bodies to certify our products and communicate about everything that is behind the production, and even further, going from the beginning. And I'm talking about the suppliers, the sourcing. So guaranteeing ethical labor, social responsibilities, guaranteeing that also we have non-GMO products, traceability behind, so and many other examples. So one of the examples I mentioned also in the presentation was the Protera one, which works also with these aspects, and can also mention many others, Cosmos, Natru. So these certification entities allow us to guarantee that we can go further with sustainability.
Amazing.
And the last thing would be also the process. The process is very important to guarantee and show that we are also thinking about energy consumption, water consumption, resources, and any other aspects in this scenario, and not thinking only about the efficiency we are improving, optimizing, but also about the sustainable credentials you are going to be able to provide and generating transparency in this whole process.
Fascinating. Very, very interesting. And really, based on everything you've just said, I'm going to throw maybe a little bit more difficult question out there. Sort of, what does sustainable beauty look like in 2030? Because it's not that far off, but a lot's happening. But what can we expect in the next 5 years?
Should I take this one?
Alexandre, maybe one for you.
Maybe Willian, you can start, and then I will.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think for me, in 2030, all the many industries are actually targeting this year with a lot of disruptive technologies in this sense for more green products and approaching more sustainability. I think one of the facts and factors that we take into consideration is industries looking at other fields, other areas, for example, as the food industry, agriculture, pharmaceutical, not only thinking in terms of with a cosmetic mindset, but also thinking about what other industries are doing to reach this goal of achieving greener products and also more sustainable and committing more to sustainability in this sense.
And Alexandre, did you want to follow up with anything?
Yeah, sure. So to me, Alessandro, what I really believe is that sustainable beauty in 2030 will have to be full stack. And what I mean by that is that just being sustainable is not enough anymore for a cosmetics active. So a sustainable active is great, of course, but it needs to be clinically proven, to have great efficacy, to work rapidly, to address different skin issues. And in order to make sustainable beauty a reality in 2030, the supply chain for sustainable ingredients will also have to be scalable. And by scalable, I mean, again, easy to increase the production output without disproportionately increasing the demand for energy, other resources that Willian just mentioned. So really, this is my vision for sustainable beauty in 2030. Sustainable ingredients and products with better levels of efficacy and a scalable manufacturing process that comes with it.
Amazing. Fantastic. And just, sorry, one more question for you, which I think might be suited for you. What clear solutions do you propose then for ingredients manufacturing to succeed with sort of positive impact in the face of regulatory and economic constraints?
So, looking at the different constraints that we just discussed just before, from supply chain security to a scalable manufacturing process and better and faster clinical efficacy, sustainability. To me, the fundamental solution that I really believe in is biotech. And biotech in skincare is basically leveraging nature to make actives. And it turns out that nature is the most advanced technology that we have available. Nature doesn't waste material. So really, by collaborating with nature, which is fundamentally what biotech is, we have the opportunity to get basically to get the best of all worlds, sustainable, scalable, and also efficient skincare.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. And I guess in addition to that, almost leaving that nature in a better state than it was at the end result of everything. Fantastic. Some more questions we've had in from the audience. And what is your perspective on enabling closer collaborations to achieve sustainable transformations as a holistic approach for key success? Is that key to success?
I think I may be able to contribute here. Looking from a sourcing and sustainable sourcing perspective, especially when it comes to naturals, then I think that the collaborative effort is a must.
looking ahead, also to allude to the 2030 vision about the industry. And I think that collaboration is what is required in order to enable that scalability. We may be able to scale a supply chain, but when you see more and more need for adding additional positive impact, be it social or nature-wise, then oftentimes that's where the challenges are right now. We can do intervention that improves, health and safety for the workers in the supply chain, but scaling those initiatives requires a more collaborative effort, and it also across the industry. So I think you will see, and I think we need to see more collaboration. Also, between competitors, we have the same interest as an industry. So I think we share a lot of interests, and it would be a missed opportunity if we don't join forces on a lot of those aspects. So that's definitely an enabler, the way I see it.
Amazing. I actually have a personal question just off of that. Do you feel that there might be a responsibility then from some of the biggest names in beauty, the biggest beauty companies to sort of maybe inspire that and really pave the way for that collaborative work across the industry?
Well, yeah, obviously we all need role models, and there's no difference when you look at sourcing operation and sustainability efforts in that direction. But I think it's important also to avoid all the issues about the potential greenwashing, that everything you do is impact focused. So it's also about developing shared definition about what is impact. How do we measure? How do we make sure that what we do actually makes a difference on the ground, so to speak? And there again, a collaborative effort will ensure more accountability and ultimately also more transparency when it comes to the consumers. Label recognition.
Absolutely. And I heard you say responsible sourcing, and sort of what is the importance of responsible sourcing in the beauty industry today?
Many things, I guess, but I think transparency and accountability. I think it's responsible sourcing is such a wide or even vague term, because what does it actually mean? And we see it both in terms of what individual companies are doing, but we also see it from legislative side, is that the requirement to take more responsibility, further upstream responsibility is something that it's no longer a choice. You have to do it, right? And I think that drives a lot of that responsibility and how we define responsibility, because you have to risk mitigate wherever it is in your supply chain.
Absolutely. There's a lot going on, isn't there? It's a really,
for sure.
The work doesn't feel like it's ever done. And really for brands then, maybe Elena, a question for you potentially. What do you feel are some of the biggest sustainability challenges which are facing brands today?
Yeah, I would say if I have to highlight a couple, one, and I think one of the obvious ones that you hear when you say sustainability and challenges, it's very much the whole cost part. So how do you become more sustainable as a brand and at the same time stay competitive in the market? Because we keep hearing, consumers, they say they want to pay more, but they don't actually pay more. No? So I think that's kind of one of the obvious ones. But I would say, linked to what Jakob just mentioned, what we're seeing now is companies really having a need to measure their impact and really wanting to establish what's the status quo and identify, what's the roadmap for improvement, and thinking about personal care producers that they have, you could say, hundreds of different ingredients that hundreds of different packagings. So they have so much information that they need to concentrate in order to establish where are they and also identify, this is where we actually need to focus. I do see that as a big challenge, right now.
Definitely. And I guess I'm sort of what comes to mind is schemes like B Corp, and sort of, do you feel that these are still very important programs that brands and businesses should be pursuing then to really sort of, like you say, allow people to see and track their sustainability goals? Is that you feel an important part of the industry?
Yeah, definitely. And I think in that sense, like traceability is going to be a key. And also going back to Jakob, and for that, I mean, there's going to need to be a lot of like collaboration and transparency to get that information. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's actually sort of, I asked the question, sort of came to the top of my head, but it's one of the questions we have here on certifications and how they position sustainable brands. And you say, absolutely agree with the importance there. Is there a risk potentially of those certifications being used in a way that's almost, like you say, that could feed into greenwashing? What sort of your thoughts there?
If it's on me still, no, I was gonna, sorry, Jakob.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, I think certifications, I mean, I think in a way they've been so far a great tool for like easy communication. No, it's something that consumers, they've been greenwashed. They need easy proof points, and those work as that. And we see like a big request for certifications. But I also think that if we think about some of the certifications that are out there, and now I'm thinking about product certifications, they only cover like a small part of the whole story. So I think that they also need to be understood as that. And that's where I think I see a bit the risk, that if you think about vegan, it will tell you, okay, that might not have been contain like animal-derived products, or it might not involve animals in the process, but it will not tell you anything about the carbon footprint or the naturality of the ingredient. So I think they are great tools, but I think they only tell a part of the story.
Absolutely.
And if I may add on that, and I agree very much that certifications is a good tool. It also makes the choice for consumers more easy. But yes, they only tell part of the story. And I think the whole certification sort of industry also have a challenge here, or at least a task, because they all started somewhere. And a lot of them were very focused on social impacts, making sure that there was fair wealth distribution, fair salary being paid. And it was very much focused on a specific industry. And that's sort of where it grew from. So the inherent scalability of some of these standards is a challenge. Because they work well in that niche where they originated. But it becomes more challenging to incorporate them in more, let's say, larger or more complex supply chains. So the standards also need to develop to match these requirements. And I think that's a journey that at least some of them still have to go through.
Definitely. And we're almost out of time here, guys, but I guess opening it up to everyone, what would you personally like to see most come out of the beauty industry and sustainability going forward in the next 10 years, even beyond 2030? What are your some just hopes for the industry and for sustainability?
Well, I think I can go first. I think one of the things is that there are a lot of big ideas and creativity in terms of formulations, new ingredients, and I think I would love to see also maybe customers embracing this, because sometimes I know it's difficult to people to go with the change. I think it's not only from the industry side, but it's also the customer side that has also to evolve with all these changes and towards this more sustainable future. I think from a customer side, I think I would like to see people also embracing this, but from an industry side, I think it's also the industry role to teach the customer, the client, to educate, to show like why they are making this change, why they are bringing these innovations, and why it's so important. So I think it's in both ways, actually, not only from a customer point of view, but also an industry point of view, really like educating and bringing this knowledge for people to understand why these changes are happening.
Definitely. Anyone else with any other thoughts?
No, I think I'm very much aligned, and I mean, for me, I would really like now I'm going to say collaboration again, but like more of an industry approach to making consumers' life easier on taking their decisions. So basically trying to go over this sense of greenwashing and giving the consumers like the information they need, and as an industry working on that.
Incredible. I think actually that really brings us nicely to time today. I think that's all the time we had for the questions, and I really would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's joined us today for the webinar. If we didn't actually have a chance to get round to your questions, all of the information will be shared with everyone here, and they will be in touch accordingly. I'd like to again offer a massive thanks to Elena, Willian, Jakob and Alexandre for really insightful commentary, for all the responses to the questions, and as well as everyone working hard behind the scenes to make the webinar happen. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.